we are required to give the coordinates of those points x, y, z, k, f, p and d, all listed on this diagram. Now this diagram is called a Cartesian diagram because it has a y and an x axis. Let's just take a look first before we proceed with this question as to exactly what does it mean if we talk about the Cartesian diagram. First of all, it comes from a French mathematician with the name Descartes. He designed this means of pinpointing position in space, and we call it Cartesian, the Cartesian diagram, from his name. You can see there the Carte part of his name became Cartesian diagram. Now let's assume you are standing in a room. Here you are, standing inside a room in a flat, and you're looking that way. Now remember, this could be a room, and if we give it some structure and texture, you can see exactly what we mean by that. So you're standing there, and you need to tell me exactly what the position of that picture on the wall is. Now if we say along the floor is the x-axis, right down to there, and then moving up will be the y-axis, when we actually move in 3 dimensions, you'll also be able to call or label one of the axes z, but that's beyond the scope of this explanation. So we'll just be looking at that one wall where we have the x-axis along the floor and the y-axis along also along the floor but going towards the roof. And then we can say that picture, for instance, if we draw a line down to there and a line horizontally across to there, we can measure, saying that that distance, for instance, let's say it's 2 meters, and that distance there is 1.5 meters. We can say the position of that picture is 2 meters along the x-axis and 1.5 meters up along the y-axis, and the coordinates of that point would then be given, always x first as 2 and y then as 1, 5. That will then give us the exact position of the midpoint of that picture. So it's a simple analogy to try and remember. You're standing in a room, you're looking towards a wall, and you've got your starting point right there in the middle, and then you've got your x-axis horizontal and y-axis vertical. And in that process you can pinpoint the position. Now remember, if you're in a flat, you obviously have different rooms. Again, here you are looking towards that wall where the picture is hanging, but there's a wall on the back, or a room on the back, there's a room there, there's a room here, there's a room at the bottom left, there's a room right beneath you. So there are many rooms in this flat, all of which have flat rooms to which you are looking. So again, looking at that point right there as the midpoint, we can say that is x, but positive. When you go that way, you'll still be along the x-axis, but this time you'll be going negative. When you go up, you'll have your y-axis positive. When you go through the floor, you'll be y-axis negative. So if you, for instance, are asked to pinpoint a position right there, which is beneath you, but against the wall nonetheless, you can again say, let's draw a line to the x-axis, let's draw a line to the y-axis. That point might be 1.5 meters on the x-axis and say 1 meters on the y-axis, but the coordinates, since you are beneath the floor on which you are standing, will then be 1.5 for x, but minus 1 for y. Similarly, if there was a point on that wall, you'd have, let's say that's minus 2 on the x-axis, and obviously minus 1 then on the y-axis there. The coordinate of that point would be minus 2 for x, minus 1 for y. So the minus simply means that you have moved outside of the floor on which you are standing. But again, you can be looking at this whole thing as a flat wall, and you are looking at this wall and trying to find the positions of certain points. Now looking at the original question that we've started with, this is exactly what they're asking. Say the x, or provide the coordinates of point x. We can see that it is 3 on the x-axis and 4 on the y-axis. Y is 2 on the x-axis and 1 on the y-axis. Z, that point there, is minus 2 on the x-axis and 2 on the y-axis. Then we've got K. K is right down here. It's minus 4 on the x-axis and minus 4 on the y-axis. F is on the y-axis, so it will have a 0 value for x because it's against the wall, but it is minus 3. It's down at minus 3 on the y-axis. Then we've got P. P is right down there. It's 5 on the x-axis and minus 5 on the y-axis. And lastly, we've got D. D is on the x-axis at minus 4, but being right on the floor, it would have a 0 value for y. And there we've got all the questions answered. Now you understand how the Cartesian diagram works, as well as how to pinpoint and write down coordinates of various points on your Cartesian diagram.